Welcome back. In our last session, we have defined what a vulnerability is and we have explored the various types and impacts. In this, we are going to deep dive into how we measure the severity of the vulnerabilities and then formally define the process of vulnerability management itself. This is how where we move from understanding a problem to creating a solution. Now, vulnerability scoring system, that is the CVSS, common vulnerability scoring system. When we are dealing with hundreds or even thousands of vulnerabilities, we can't fix them all at once. So we need a way to prioritize. This is where vulnerability scoring systems come. It is the most widely used systems is the common vulnerability scoring system or CVSS in general. Now, CVSS assigned a numerical score to each vulnerability. Okay, whatever vulnerability you open, you are going to get a number from 0 to 10. This is where we are prioritizing the vulnerabilities. Now, CVSS scores are used to prioritize based on the remediation efforts and allocate resources effectively. Now, how does CVSS score looks like? If you just Google the CVSS score, you are going to get a calculator to calculate regarding what should be the number of the particular vulnerability. Now, there are various versions of CVSS, version 4.0, 3.1, 3.0, 2 and 1. The current one we are using is 3.0. You can define whatever is appropriate for you. You may find that after significant time, there are few more developments in the vulnerability research side, and we may have 5.0, 6.0 level of calculator possible. Now, the scoring has multiple different levels: attack vector, scope, complexity, privileges, confidentiality, integrity. For example, if you see the attack vector, where does the attacker has to sit? Either they have to visit the physical server or they need to go to the local level, adjacent or network. If you make it network, the scope is changed. Attack complexity is how hard is for the attacker to do this particular attack. It's low or high. Confidentiality is low. Privileges, do they require? No. Without privileges also they can do, then it is something dangerous. Integrity, high. User interaction, if required, maybe user has to click something sort of things, or without user authentication, like a worm can be injected, it's none. Availability is low. It becomes a code number 9.1 critical. And this is a vector string that would be always visible to every vulnerability. And in every vulnerability scanning tools, this particular thing is made available. If you go to Nessus, if you go to OpenWise, if you go to Manage Engine, everywhere these particular things would be written. CVSS, the scoring system, version 3.0, attack vector is network, attack complexity is low, then privilege is required is low, user interaction is none, sort of thing. Scope is changed, confidentiality is low, integrity is high, and availability is low. So based on these things, it would be giving you the scoring. Now, if you make something changes here, it would be going to change. If you make it none, it become high instead of critical. If you make none, it becomes high. If it is unchanged, it become medium. So from these things only, we are going to consider what should be our the scoring system. So there are different types of scoring in the 3.0, that is base score, temporal score, environmental score, sort of things. So based on the vulnerabilities, whether remediation is available, temporary fix is there or unavailable, again it would become a bit higher. Exploit code is very high, unproven, unknown. But if you go ahead and check the base score, this is the core, the logic of creating the scoring system. This is how the vulnerability would be scored. Let's back to the topic. So CVSS has different types of code, base score, temporal core, and environmental score. The base represents the main, that is the intrinsic characteristics of the vulnerability. Temporal metrics reflect the characteristics that can change over the time, that is bit dynamic. Maybe as of now it's very relevant, but after them it may not be relevant. Environmental metrics represent characteristics of the vulnerability that are specific to a particular environment. It can be to a Windows systems, or it can be to a Linux system, sort of things. A particular environment is prioritized inside the particular case. So if I want to conclude the CVSS, it is made on several factors like the ease of exploitation, the impact on confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the scope of the affected systems. So we have seen the same thing here. Based on this, we are characterizing. Now, we are now moving to the vulnerability management itself. Now we have sufficient knowledge regarding what is vulnerability. So with that in mind, let's now provide a formal definition of vulnerability management itself. So vulnerability management is a systematic process of identifying, classifying, prioritizing, remediating, and mitigating the vulnerabilities. Everything sorted we have to do. Where in the organization IT infrastructures. So what it involves? It involves continuously to scan the systems, weekly scans, monthly scans, quarterly scans, on-demand scans, looking for vulnerabilities. Then we need to assess the associated risk and later taking some appropriate action to reduce the likelihood and the impact of the exploitation cost. This is what a simple vulnerability management program would do. Why it is important? For a security analyst, if you look, this is a crucial skill. Vulnerability management enables you to proactively identify, address the security weakness before they can be exploited. So if a vulnerability was present on a server, we continuously go ahead and scan this up that, hey, we are using a default password. We are using an outdated software. We are having an architecture authentication problem. These are the vulnerabilities that were triggered here, 1, 2, and 3. We are scanning and addressing it up. Now we need to provide some remediation that, hey, change the password to a secure one, update the software, create a new architecture design from base. So when an actual attacker that is sitting inside the internet tries to attack this particular case, it would be automatically been patched. So we have automatically prevented certain level of actions here inside the case. So that is why it is very important. It enables them to proactively identify. So if you understand the principles of vulnerability management and techniques, the analyst can help organizations reduce their attack surface. So we are reducing from where the attacker can get inside. Previously it was 3, but we have already mitigated 2. So we have reduced the attack surface. This would also improve our security posture and it can help us to protect the critical assets, servers, application. These are all the critical assets. What are some benefits if we have a proactive vulnerability management program? If we have a proactive vulnerability management program, we can have numerous benefits. First is reduce risk of security incidents. So what does this mean? If we identify and remediate vulnerabilities before it can be exploited, we can significantly reduce the risk of data breach, service disruption, and other security incidents. So now imagine the same situation. We have patched the particular server. This is a server that was patched. Now the attacker that is sitting inside the internet tries to exploit the vulnerabilities. It would be very hard for them to exploit this and get a reverse shell or compromise the device, because we are using the latest patches, latest configuration available to make ourselves more and more secure. So the security incidents that would occur on the server would be very significantly less. That is the whole logic and idea behind doing the vulnerability management. Second is it would be improving the security posture. If we have a well implemented vulnerability management program, it would help the organization to maintain a strong security posture. How? By continuously monitoring and addressing the security weakness. We continuously always monitor for latest security vulnerabilities that are occurring and later creating a remediation plan and patch management sort of things. It would also allow you to comply with the regulations. Many regulations, PCI DSS, HIPAA, require organization to implement vulnerability management programs. So if you are organization that is based out of healthcare or organization based out of payment card industry, you require credit card information, storing, e-commerce. So you require certain types of regulation to be followed. And to clear that regulation and to comply with that, you require to implement vulnerability management program. So this would also help you out with regulation and compliance requirement. Again, cost savings. How? So if you prevent security incidents, now see this example, same thing. Now it was running website, a website of purchase and sell. Okay. Now if you prevent the security incidents, then the cost associated with incident response, remediation, legal fees, lost business, everything can be very less. So now the website would be live major time, purchase and sales would occur. So we are getting revenue and we are having more profitability instead of not having vulnerability management program. Anyone can do anything, the server would be down and we are losing out the businesses. And if you have a strong reputation that tomorrow in the newspaper comes up that, hey, the particular organization made it themselves secured against the variety of hackers, then your reputation would again go very strong to the customers and your partners that, hey, we are having a very good security posture, and hence we are having the latest security practices followed for our organization's data, and that builds up the trust between your customers and the partners. This allows the vulnerability management program to be done. So there are some regulatory compliance and vulnerability management included. Now we discussed regarding if you are in the payment card industry or healthcare or GDPR. So there are different compliances that has to be followed. So if you are handling critical sensitive user data like credit card information, you need in the payment card, you require vulnerability management to be taken care. Otherwise, your license can be cancelled to operate in the industry. If you are monitoring healthcare, like patients' data, their medical records, then you are need to follow the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So again, vulnerability management would allow you to have strong hold on the sensitive data. And GDPR. So GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation. It requires organization that processes personal data of European citizens. So if you are working with German clients, UK-based clients, then you need to have to follow the GDPR, which would require appropriate technical and organizational measures to protect the data. So again, here also vulnerability management is a key aspect of data protection under the GDPR. So as we can see, vulnerability management is not just a practice, it's a necessity for modern organization. In the next segment, we are going to see some more key components of vulnerability management program. Stay tuned. Thank you.